dear children, welcome back. Let's begin the second module of chapter 10 in history, that is Displacing Indigenous People. Children, in previous module we discussed about the meaning of indigenous. Indigenous means the native people. Here, who are these native people? These native people we are going to understand from two countries. These are America and Australia. So, under the process of European imperialism, in this module, we are going to see how these countries encountered with the great change. So, the American Empire of Spain and Portugal, when they stopped the process of expansion around 17th century, the new countries arrived for this activity. And these were the France, England and Holland. These began the trading activities with Asia, America and Africa. Around 18th century, these countries they defeated the local rulers and established their own colonies. By gaining the profit, they gradually established their political power as well, which we have clearly seen in the South Asia when East India Company arrived with a great power. Later on, in Africa, we will notice that how the agreement of these imperial powers went with the great change and they divided Africa into the small colonies. And these small colonies were being used for the trading purpose. Somewhere the trading of slaverism arose and these slaves were being used in the mines and the commercial purpose or the trading centers. For example, for promoting the plantation and the coal minings. These Africans were being used as a labor and small colonies in the Africa were being used by the imperial powers in this manner. Further, let us see how this America went into the great change with the process of imperialism. They were the first people ever lived in the North America. Exactly when they came, how they arrived is still a mystery, but many scientists believe that it's around 30,000 years ago. Some hunters from Ice Age walked or sailed along the coast of land bridge that once connected to Russia and Alaska. These successors became and known as the Native Americans or American Indians. As they spread over the vast continent, hundreds of the unique cultures were born. On the northern Pacific coast, the tribes sailed when the first unique settler arrived around 1500 years and million Native Americans lived about north of Mexico. But the outsiders changed everything. Disease from Europe such as smallpox and tuberculosis lay down entire Mexico. Settlers began to gain land for themselves. Some tribes resisted, fought back and others attempted to cooperate. In the end, the result was same. In the late 1800s, the US government forced the remaining Indians to leave their traditional homeland and live on taxable land called reservations. Over the next centuries, Native Americans continued to fight for their rights for the political activism. Mutual perception about the native people, which began around 18th century by Western European countries when they started giving the title of civilized and uncivilized to the native people. These all happened just because of the friendship and the exchanging of the goods in the beginning. Later on, these European traders have an eye upon their natural resources or the forest resources. For that, gradually they begin to take their own land from their part. These native Australians were also called as Aborigines, a general name given to the number of different societies began to arrive on the continent over 40,000 years ago, or it may be possible even earlier. They came from New Guinea, which was connected to Australia by a land bridge. In the native tradition, they did not come to Australia but had always been there. Under European imperialism, Spain and Portugal did not expand after 17th century, which was replaced by France, Holland and Britain, and began to expand their trading activity and established colonies in America, Africa and Asia. Ireland was also a colony of England. Prospect of profit drove people to establish colony. Nature on the control on colony was varied. Trading company became political power in South Asia, defeated rulers, retained administrative system, collected taxes and built railway to trade easier, excavated mines and established big plantations. Africa was divided as colonies among the Europeans. The past centuries were called dream time. In the 18th century, there were between 350 to 750 native communities in Australia, each with its own language. Even today, 200 of these languages are spoken. There is another large group of indigenous people living in the north called as Torres Strait Islanders. Australia is very less populated or sparsely populated. Most of the towns are along the coast area, where the British first arrived in 1770 because the central region is arid desert. There is a reversal of the feeling among the British when the Captain Cook killed in Hawaii. 90% of native died due to germs, loss of lands and battles against settlers. Due to the large migration of Europe and Asian countries, a small proportion of native people is left. Names of many rivers and towns are derived from native peoples. Example, Ohio, Mississippi and settle in USA, and Saskatchewan in Canada, and Wallacegang and Parramatta in Australia. Let us see and understand the wind of change for the Australian natives. The Great Australian Silence, lecture by W.E.H. Steiner, electrified people in 1968. Steps which were taken to record communities with a distinct culture, unique way of understanding nature and climate. Stories, textiles and paintings and carving skills all were maintained. The urgent question which Henry Renaud later articulated in the power book named Why We Aren't We Told. Next steps: universities, departments, galleries of native arts, museums, imaginative design rooms, and native also started writing their own historical lifestyle. From 1970, multiculturalism has been officially policy in Australia. The term human rights realized that Australia had no treaty with the native, formalizing the taking over of land by the Europeans. Issue of mixed blood children. Due to these, 2 steps were taken to recognize that native had close contact with the land, so it must be respected. Need to end the injustice done with the children in an attempt to keep white and cultured people apart. So this is the end of this module, dear children. Remaining topic we are going to discuss in the upcoming module of this chapter. Till then, stay happy, stay safe. Children, it's time to do some questionnaire. What are the steps taken by the Europeans for the development of agriculture in USA? They cleared large tracts of forest to develop agriculture. To protect their farms from the danger of animals, they enclosed the field with a barbed wire. Or option A and B both, or none of these. Next question is, who established themselves as a political power in South Asia? East India Company, the United Nations of America, neither A or B, or both of them. Answer all these questions in comment. Thank you for watching.